The observation deck of the Intergalactic Combat Federation headquarters buzzed with excitement. Delegates from 17 species filled the tiered seating, their attention locked on the central arena below. Today marked a historic occasion, the first human entrant in the Federation's annual tournament. "I still don't understand why we allowed them entry," huffed Ambassador Vox, his scaled hide shimmering under the artificial lights. The Draconid representative's claws clicked impatiently against the railing. "They've barely mastered interstellar travel." Beside him, Admiral Theron of the Aldebaran Alliance adjusted her ocular implants for a better view. "The human qualified. Under Article 7, we cannot deny any species that passes the preliminary trials." "Technicalities," Vox sneered. "Look at it. So soft. No claws, no armor. Those limbs would snap under the slightest pressure." The human in question stood at the edge of the combat circle. Jack Miller, former Marine and mixed martial arts champion, represented the best Earth had to offer. At 6'2", with a muscular build, he appeared impressive by human standards. Among the gathered aliens, however, he seemed painfully average, even vulnerable. His opponent towered at the opposite side of the arena. The Krell warrior Drax was 8 feet of rippling muscle and chitinous plating. 4 powerful arms ended in razor-sharp talons, while an armored exoskeleton covered every inch of his body. The species had evolved as apex predators on a high-gravity death world, their natural weapons capable of shredding steel. "This match is a formality," the Draconid continued. "The galactic community needs to understand humanity's position in the hierarchy." Admiral Theron's compound eyes reflected the arena lights. "Perhaps. Or perhaps we might learn something new." In the preparation chamber beneath the arena, Jack performed his final stretches. The Earth government had sent him with clear instructions: make a good showing, gain respect, avoid embarrassment. Humanity's recent admission to the Galactic Council remained controversial. Many elder species viewed humans as primitive upstarts. "You understand the rules?" The Federation official, a gelatinous being named Glob, hovered nearby. "Match ends at submission, incapacitation, or death, though death is strongly discouraged for diplomatic reasons." Jack nodded. "Got it. No killing the giant bug man. The Krell are not insects, but apex predators. Drax is undefeated in 17 matches." "There's always a first time," Jack replied with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. The official's translucent body pulsed with what might have been concern. "Human, your species' inclusion in these games was controversial. Many believe you're kind too fragile for true combat." Jack finished wrapping his hands with flexible carbon nanotape. "We've been fighting since before we walked upright. I'll be fine." The Krell evolved hunting prey that would crush your bones with atmospheric pressure alone. Their exoskeleton can deflect energy weapons. I read the briefing. Jack rolled his shoulders. "But every living thing has vulnerabilities. Eyes, joints, pressure points." The official's color darkened. "You've studied your opponent. For weeks. Video of every match." Jack stepped toward the lift platform. "That's what humans do. We prepare." Above, the announcement system blared. The translator rendered it in English for Jack's benefit. "Combatants, enter the arena." As Jack ascended into blinding lights and the roar of the crowd, he recalled his commander's final words before departure. "Remember, Miller, this isn't just about you. It's about showing the galaxy what humanity can do." The arena floor was a perfect circle of specialized material, designed to provide optimal traction while absorbing impact. Across the 70-foot diameter, Drax emerged from his entrance, mandibles clicking in what translators identified as ritual combat sounds. Jack rolled his neck, bouncing lightly on the balls of his feet. He'd studied every piece of footage available on Krell physiology and fighting techniques. The Federation thought this was a formality, a way to put the newcomers in their place. They were about to learn how humans approached combat. The announcement system boomed overhead. "First round match, representing Earth, human Jack Miller versus representing Kreller Prime, Krell warrior Drax." A holographic countdown appeared in the air between them. Jack settled into his stance, weight balanced, hands up, core tight. Across the arena, Drax raised all 4 arms in a display of dominance, mandibles spread wide to reveal rows of serrated teeth. The crowd's noise dropped to a tense hush as the countdown reached 0. A resonant tone signaled the start. Drax charged, immediately crossing the arena with shocking speed for his size. His bulk created a visible disturbance in the air as he barreled forward with all 4 arms extended for a grapple that would end the match immediately. Jack didn't move until the very last second. Then he was simply elsewhere. A sidestep so perfectly timed that Drax's momentum carried him past his target. The human pivoted, studying the Krell's movement patterns with analytical precision. In the observation deck, Ambassador Vox leaned forward. What just happened? Admiral Theron adjusted her viewing apparatus. The human dodged. Impossible. No one evades a Krell charge. Drax recovered quickly, chitinous plates clicking as he turned. His compound eyes focused on Jack, who remained in a defensive posture. The Krell warrior circled warily now, 4 arms weaving in complex patterns designed to confuse prey before striking. Your species is known for spirit, Drax's translator projected. But spirit alone cannot overcome natural order. Submit now for an honorable defeat. Jack remained silent, calculating distances and angles as they circled. When Drax launched his second attack, a blindingly fast sweep with his lower arms followed by a crushing blow from the upper pair, Jack was ready. He ducked beneath the lower strike, stepped inside Drax's guard, and delivered a pinpoint strike to a junction between exoskeletal plates near what passed for the Krell's shoulder. His carbon fiber reinforced gloves connected with the precise pressure to compress the nerve cluster beneath. The upper right arm of the massive alien went instantly limp. A collective gasp rippled through the audience. Federation records indicated no one had ever partially disabled a Krell warrior so quickly. Drax recoiled, mandibles clicking rapidly in what the translator identified as surprise and pain. The Krell launched a desperate counterstrike with his remaining 3 functional limbs. Jack slipped beneath it, delivering another precision strike to a different nerve cluster. A second arm dropped uselessly. Impossible! Ambassador Vox stood from his seat. The human is targeting neural junctions that should be unknown to their science. Admiral Theron's multifaceted eyes gleamed. Then perhaps we underestimated their science, or their capacity for research. On the arena floor, Drax was growing desperate. The Krell warrior had never faced an opponent who could neutralize his natural advantages. He committed fully to an all-out assault, using his remaining functional limbs and attempting to bring his superior mass to bear. Jack weathered the onslaught with a defensive shell that seemed to anticipate each blow before it landed. The human moved with fluid precision, every step and shift serving a purpose. There was no wasted motion, no hesitation. In the Federation Command Center, analysts were growing alarmed. Director, the human's combat efficiency exceeds all projected models, reported a technician. His technique includes elements from 17 distinct Earth combat disciplines, perfectly synthesized. The Federation director frowned. How is this possible? Their species profile indicated no such capabilities. Unknown, sir. But the human appears to have thoroughly studied Krell physiology. He's targeting nerve clusters, joint connections, and sensory organs with surgical precision. On the observation deck, other species representatives were beginning to murmur among themselves. The human wasn't just surviving. He was methodically dismantling one of the galaxy's premier warriors. And it had been only 7 seconds since the match began. Jack saw the opening and moved. As Drax committed to a desperate lunge, the human slipped past the Krell's guard completely. His hands found purchase on the alien's armored back, fingers digging into precisely the right spots between hardened plates. With leverage that defied his smaller size, Jack executed a perfect throw, redirecting the alien's momentum. 800 pounds of Krell warrior crashed to the arena floor with an impact that reverberated through the entire structure. Before Drax could recover, Jack had already transitioned to a grappling position that neutralized the alien's remaining functional limbs. His forearm pressed against a vulnerable section of the Krell's neck, applying carefully calibrated pressure to the breathing apparatus beneath. 12 seconds after the match began, the submission indicator flashed. Drax had yielded. Silence fell over the arena, then pandemonium erupted. Victory to the human competitor! The announcement system blared, though it was barely audible over the chaos of the crowd. In the command center, the Federation director turned to his chief xenobiologist. Explain what just happened. The scientist's tentacles waved in agitation. The human used a fighting technique that exploited specific weaknesses in Krell physiology, knowledge that should have been impossible for their species to possess. Espionage? No, the xenobiologist replied. Based on the precision of his movements, I believe he developed this approach through study. The human analyzed Drax's previous matches and created a strategy specifically designed to counter Krell combat advantages. The director's brow furrowed. Are you suggesting this human independently developed counter techniques to a warrior species that has dominated galactic combat for centuries? Not just counter techniques. Perfect counter techniques. Executed flawlessly. On the arena floor, Jack helped Drax to a standing position, a traditional gesture of respect. The Krell warrior's translator struggled to keep up with his rapid, clicking speech. How? Drax demanded. How did you know the vulnerability points of my species? That knowledge is not shared outside our homeworld. Jack wiped sweat from his brow. I didn't know. I observed. Your previous 17 matches are all recorded in the Federation database. I studied them frame by frame, looking for patterns. Impossible. No species can discern Krell physiological weaknesses from observation alone, Jack shrugged. Humans have been studying the weaknesses of larger predators since we lived in caves. It's how we survived. In the observation deck, Admiral Theron leaned toward the still-stunned Ambassador Vox. It seems humans possess analytical capabilities beyond our estimates. One victory proves nothing, Vox snarled, though his voice lacked conviction. The Krell was overconfident. Was he? Theron's compound eyes glittered. Or have we fundamentally misunderstood humanity's approach to combat? The Federation's Security Council convened an emergency session while the arena was prepared for the next match. The director's hologram addressed the gathered representatives. This development requires immediate assessment. The humans' victory was not luck or chance. It was methodical, planned, and executed with disturbing precision. Vexillian Councilor's tendrils rippled with concern. Could humanity pose a greater military threat than previously assumed? Unknown, the director replied. But their approach to this competition suggests capabilities we had not accounted for. While other species trained to maximize their natural advantages, the human specifically trained to neutralize his opponent's advantages. Back in the preparation chamber, Federation officials debriefed Jack. That was unexpected, Glob admitted. Your technique was unlike anything in our records of human combat. Jack took a long drink of water. Because I created it specifically for this match. Created it? The official's gelatinous form pulsed with confusion. Mixed martial arts isn't about being the strongest or fastest. It's about adaptability. Studying your opponent, finding weaknesses, developing strategies. Jack smiled. I had 3 months to prepare. I used it well. As Jack spoke, thousands of communiques were already crossing the galaxy. Every major military power had witnessed something unexpected. A species using intelligence and preparation to overcome overwhelming physical disadvantages. And somewhere in the Federation archives, humanity's threat assessment classification was being quietly revised upward. The aftermath of Jack's victory rippled through the Intergalactic Combat Federation like a shockwave. Federation analysts huddled around displays, scrutinizing the match from every angle. What they discovered only deepened their concern. Humans' movements achieved 94% maximum theoretical efficiency, reported the chief combat analyst. No wasted motion, no hesitation. Each strike targeted a precisely calculated vulnerability. Could it be technological enhancement? Asked a counselor. Cybernetic implants? Neural boosters? The medical officer shook her head. Our scans detected no artificial enhancements. This appears to be the result of natural human capabilities combined with extraordinary preparation. In his private quarters, Jack reviewed footage of his potential next opponents. The tournament bracket had been hastily reorganized following his unexpected victory. Now, instead of being scheduled against a mid-tier competitor, he was matched against a combat-specialized Taurian. 7 feet of evolved killing. Machine with reflexes twice as fast as human baseline. A communication panel chimed. Admiral Theron's face appeared on the screen. Impressive performance, Mr. Miller, she said. The Federation is re-evaluating several assumptions about your species. Thank you, Admiral. I confess curiosity about your methods. Did Earth's Government provide you with classified intelligence on Krell physiology? Jack shook his head. No. Just access to the public Federation combat archives. I studied every recorded Krell match for the past 5 years. And from those recordings, you identified exploitable weaknesses? Pattern recognition is a human specialty. Plus, all biological organisms share certain universal principles. Nerve clusters tend to be located at similar junction points across species. Sensory organs have similar vulnerabilities. The Admiral's multifaceted eyes studied him intently. You speak as if this approach is common among humans. It is. Jack paused the combat footage he'd been reviewing. Throughout our history, humans have survived by outsmarting stronger predators. We were never the fastest or strongest species. On our planet, we had to compensate with other advantages. Intelligence alone doesn't explain your combat efficiency. Not just intelligence, preparation. Humans don't just rely on natural abilities. We create systems to enhance them. Training methods, analytical approaches, strategic frameworks. We've spent thousands of years developing ways to overcome physical limitations. The Admiral's expression was unreadable. The Federation classified humans as a moderate capability species with limited combat potential. This assessment now appears incomplete. Jack smiled slightly. We're often underestimated. After the Admiral disconnected, Jack returned to studying. His next opponent, his victory against Drax, had been the result of months of preparation for that specific adversary. Tomorrow's match would be different. He'd have less than 24 hours to develop a strategy. But that was fine. Adapting under pressure was another human specialty. In the Federation Council chamber, a heated debate was underway. Representatives from 17 species argued over the implications of the human's performance. It changes nothing, insisted Ambassador Vox. One victory against an overconfident opponent proves little about their species' capabilities. You miss the point, countered the Arcturian delegate. It's not that the human won. It's how he won. With preparation, analysis, and efficiency that exceeds our predictive models. The Federation's military attaché stepped forward. Our intelligence suggested humans were physically unexceptional but potentially adaptable. What we witnessed today suggests their adaptability exceeds all current metrics. Meaning what, exactly? Demanded Vox. Meaning that given sufficient time to prepare, humans may be capable of developing countermeasures to virtually any opponent, regardless of physical disparities. A thoughtful silence fell over the chamber. There is another possibility, offered Admiral Theron. Perhaps the humans' performance wasn't extraordinary by their standards. Perhaps this is simply how they approach all challenges. The implications hung in the air, unspoken but understood by all present. A species that could systematically analyze and counter superior physical capabilities presented a fundamentally different type of potential threat than the Federation was accustomed to evaluating. And somewhere on Earth, millions watched the recording of Jack's victory with fierce pride, unaware that their representative had just fundamentally altered humanity's standing in the galactic community. The morning of Jack's second match arrived with a significant shift in the tournament atmosphere. Where yesterday he had been an afterthought, a curiosity at best, today he entered the arena under intense scrutiny. Federation officials had tripled the number of sensor arrays monitoring the combat zone. Military observers from 12 species requested special permission to attend. His opponent, the Taurian warrior Krall, entered from the opposite side. The alien moved with predatory grace, its 4 eyes constantly tracking, muscles rippling beneath. A hide that could repel small arms fire. The species had evolved as pack hunters on a high-radiation world, developing both incredible physical capabilities and sophisticated group tactics. I studied your match against the Krell, Krall's translator conveyed. An impressive exploitation of specific weaknesses. You will find no such obvious vulnerabilities in my physiology. Jack maintained a neutral expression. We'll see. The countdown began. Jack settled into his stance, different from yesterday's. Where he had prepared specifically for Drax over months, he'd had only hours to develop a strategy for this opponent. The approach would need to be more fundamental, more reactive. The signals sounded. Krall attacked with blinding speed, but not with the direct charge Jack had anticipated. Instead, the Taurian executed a complex series of feints and misdirections, never committing fully, testing Jack's defenses. Jack recognized the tactic immediately. The Taurian was applying pack-hunting strategies to individual combat, treating Jack as prey to be tested before the killing stroke. It was a sophisticated approach, and one Jack had prepared for. In the observation deck, Admiral Theron leaned forward. Noticed the human's defensive posture, completely different from yesterday. Ambassador Vox's scales shimmered with agitation. A new opponent requires new tactics. This proves nothing. It proves adaptability. The human had less than a day to prepare for a completely different species with entirely different combat capabilities. On the arena floor, the exchange had accelerated to a pace difficult for most observers to follow. Kral's attacks came from multiple angles, each strike flowing into the next in a continuous sequence designed to overwhelm. Jack's defense was equally fluid, not blocking directly but redirecting, absorbing, and occasionally returning precisely targeted counters. In the command center, the analytics team was recording unprecedented data. The human's reaction time is approaching theoretical limits for their species, reported the chief analyst. He's not anticipating moves. He's reading micro-expressions and weight shifts to determine attack vectors before they're launched. The Federation director frowned. Is this capability common among humans? Unknown. But it suggests their neural processing for combat situations may exceed our models by a significant margin. The match had reached its third minute with neither competitor gaining decisive advantage. The audience watched in stunned silence as the human continued to defend against an opponent with superior speed, strength, and endurance. Then Jack changed strategies completely. Instead of continuing the defensive pattern, he suddenly advanced, entering Kral's optimal attack range voluntarily. The Taurians seized the apparent opportunity, launching a devastating combination attack that should have ended the match. Jack didn't attempt to evade. Instead, he stepped into the attack, accepting glancing contact while positioning himself inside Kral's guard. Before the Taurian could adjust, Jack had executed a complex grappling maneuver that used the alien's own momentum and leveraged a fundamental principle of physics that applied to all bipedal species regardless of origin: balance. Points. Kral crashed to the arena floor. Jack transitioned instantly to a submission hold that applied pressure to the Taurian's central nerve cluster, a vulnerability common to most vertebrate species. The submission indicator flashed. Jack had won again. The arena erupted, not in cheers this time, but in a cacophony of stunned exclamations across a dozen languages. Federation officials rushed to contain the chaos as military observers transmitted urgent updates to their respective governments. In his private viewing box, the Federation director turned to his chief of security. I want a complete reassessment of human combat capabilities. Not just this individual, the entire species. Already underway, sir. But preliminary findings are concerning. Explain. It's not just that he won. It's that he adapted a completely new strategy overnight, against a different species, with different vulnerabilities. The security chief's expression was grim. This suggests humans as a species may possess unprecedented tactical flexibility. The director gazed down at the arena, where Jack was helping, crawl to his feet in the same gesture of respect he had shown Drax. You're suggesting we may have miscategorized their threat potential. Sir, I'm suggesting we may need an entirely new classification category. The Federation Council convened an emergency session following Jack's second victory. Representatives from 27 species crowded the chamber, far more than had attended the pre-tournament briefings. Recordings of both matches played on multiple displays. Twice now, began the Federation director. This human has defeated opponents with significant physical advantages. Our preliminary analysis suggests these victories are not anomalies, but the result of systematic approaches uniquely adapted to each opponent. The Arcturian delegate's tentacles waved agitatedly. The speed of adaptation is what concerns me. Between matches, the human had approximately 20 standard hours. In that time, he developed a comprehensive strategy against a completely different opponent. Could this be an outlier? Asked a Vexillian representative. Perhaps this particular human possesses exceptional abilities not representative of their species. Admiral Theron stepped forward. Our intelligence suggests otherwise. I've reviewed historical records from Earth. Throughout their development, humans have consistently demonstrated this pattern. Using analysis, preparation, and adaptive strategies to overcome physically superior threats. A concerning revelation, the Federation director acknowledged. If these capabilities are widespread among humans, we may need to reconsider their classification within our security protocols. Across the station, Jack sat alone in the preparation chamber, reviewing footage of his next opponent, a Novan sentinel with exoskeletal armor and regenerative capabilities. His body ached from the morning's match. While he had won, Kral had landed several punishing blows. Human durability had limits. The door slid open. A Federation medical officer entered, accompanied by an unusually tall humanoid with silver skin and eyes that reflected light like mirrors. "This is Observer Lith," the medical officer explained. "The Federation Council has requested a more thorough assessment of your capabilities." Jack set aside the display. "I've already passed your medical scans." "This is different," Lith said, his voice unnaturally melodic. "I represent the Assessment Division. We study species capabilities beyond physical metrics. You want to know how I won? We want to understand the process behind your victories. Your species file indicates physical parameters within standard Class 3 ranges, yet your performance exceeds Class 1 competitors." Jack considered the observer carefully. "What exactly do you want to know? How did you prepare for these matches?" "I studied my opponents, identified patterns, weaknesses, tendencies, developed strategies to exploit them." "With no prior xenobiological training?" "No. But humans have been studying predator behavior for thousands of years. The principles are similar across species." Lith's reflective eyes showed no emotion. "The Krell and Taurians are among the galaxy's premier combat species. Their physiologies are the result of millions of years of evolutionary specialization. Yet you claim to have discerned exploitable weaknesses through observation alone?" "That's what humans do," Jack replied simply. "We observe, we analyze, we adapt. To this degree, when necessary. Throughout our history, we've been surrounded by faster, stronger predators. We survived by understanding how they hunt and developing countermeasures." The observer was silent for a moment. "The Federation has encountered thousands of species. Many evolved alongside formidable predators. None have demonstrated this particular combination of analytical ability and combat application." Jack shrugged. "Maybe you've been measuring the wrong things." After Lith departed, the Federation's xenopsychology team struggled to process the implications of their interview. "It's not just physical adaptation," the chief analyst explained to the council. "It's their fundamental approach to threats. They don't evolve to overcome challenges. They study, develop strategies, and systematically exploit weaknesses." "Many species use tools and tactics," objected Ambassador Vox. "Not like this. The human described an analytical process that transcends individual combat. They apply the same methodology to all challenges: technological, environmental, biological. They identify patterns, develop models, and create solutions that compensate for their physical limitations." The Federation director's expression darkened. "You're describing a species that views the universe itself as a system to be analyzed and exploited." "Precisely. And based on our historical analysis, they've been refining this approach for their entire evolutionary history." As night fell on the station, Jack continued studying footage of his next opponent, unaware that his victories had triggered a fundamental reassessment of humanity's place in the galactic order. In the Federation's restricted archives, a new classification was being prepared, one that had never been applied to a physically unexceptional species before. The designation read simply, "Systematic Threat, Adaptive." The final day of the tournament arrived with an atmosphere of tension unlike anything in Federation history. The combat arena, originally designed to accommodate spectators for mid-tier matches, now held representatives from every major galactic power. Military observers outnumbered civilian attendees 3-1. Jack entered to absolute silence. His opponent, the Novan sentinel Krell, emerged from the opposite entrance. A towering figure encased in biological armor with redundant organ systems and adaptive regeneration capabilities. The species had evolved in a constantly shifting environment, where survival required immediate physiological responses to new threats. "The Federation has reclassified your species twice in 3 days," Krell's translator conveyed. "An unprecedented occurrence." Jack maintained his focus, mentally reviewing the strategy he had developed overnight. "We're full of surprises." "Indeed, and now I face the burden of representing established order against the chaos you represent." The Novan's armor plates shifted subtly. "Your victories have disturbed many powerful interests." The countdown began. Jack settled into his stance, mind clear, muscles ready. Everything had led to this moment. Not just his personal training, but thousands of years of human adaptation and development. In the observation deck, Admiral Theron stood beside the Federation director. "You understand this match has implications beyond the tournament." "Of course," the director replied. "If the human prevails again, against three fundamentally different combat specialists, then we must accept that humanity's capabilities have been drastically miscalculated." The signal sounded. Krell and Jack moved simultaneously. What followed exceeded the analytical capabilities of most observation systems. The Novan attacked with devastating combination strikes that would have instantly incapacitated opponents from most species. Jack evaded with a precision that seemed to anticipate moves before they were executed, countering with techniques specifically designed to bypass adaptive armor. In the command center, alarms sounded as the combat analytics system encountered processing limitations. "The human is implementing 17 distinct combat disciplines simultaneously," reported the chief analyst. "He's synthesizing techniques from across Earth's martial history into a completely original approach." The Federation's military attaché leaned forward. "This isn't just adaptation. This is innovation under pressure." The match extended beyond 5 minutes, longer than either of Jack's previous bouts. The Novan's regenerative capabilities negated many of Jack's precision strikes. Conversely, Jack's defensive movements prevented Krell from landing decisive blows. Then came the moment that would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for decades. Jack deliberately left an opening in his defense, so subtle that only expert observers recognized it as intentional. Krell seized the apparent advantage, committing to a powerful strike. Jack's countermove defied conventional combat logic. Instead of evading or blocking, he redirected the Novan's attack energy while simultaneously targeting a microscopic gap in the alien's armor. A vulnerability that appeared only during specific movement sequences. The strike connected with surgical precision. Krell collapsed, neural systems temporarily overloaded by the perfectly executed technique. The match was over. Silence held for 3 heartbeats. Then, pandemonium erupted across the observation deck. "Unbelievable!" exclaimed the Federation's combat commentator, abandoning all pretense of neutrality. "The human has achieved the impossible." Jack helped Krell to his feet, the same gesture of respect he had shown his previous opponents. The Novan's translator conveyed, "You knew. Somehow you identified the single vulnerability in my species' defense systems." "Pattern recognition," Jack replied simply. "Your armor adapts, but the adaptation follows consistent rules. Rules can be analyzed, predicted." In the Federation Council chamber, emergency sessions continued long into the night. Military strategists from a dozen worlds presented urgent assessments of human potential. 3 victories against 3 completely different opponents, summarized the Federation director. Each requiring different strategies, different techniques, different approaches to combat. Each developed and implemented in minimal time, added the Chief of Security. "The human's learning curve exceeds all established models." Ambassador Vox, who had dismissed Jack's first victory as luck, now appeared deeply troubled. "What are the strategic implications?" Admiral Theron answered, her compound eyes reflecting the holographic displays. "We must recognize that humanity's true advantage isn't physical, it's methodological. They don't just adapt to challenges, they systematize the process of adaptation itself." "Meaning what exactly?" "Meaning that while other species evolved specialized capabilities for specific environments, humans evolved a generalized approach that can be applied to any environment, any challenge, any opponent." The Federation director's expression was grave. "And the security implications?" "Significant," replied the military attaché. "A species that can analyze, adapt to, and overcome superior physical capabilities through methodology alone represents a fundamentally different type of potential threat than our security protocols were designed to address." "Recommendations?" Admiral Theron stepped forward. "Immediate diplomatic engagement, integration into Federation knowledge exchange programs, and most importantly, reassessment of our assumption that physical capabilities determine species potential. As dawn broke on the final day of the tournament, Jack returned to Earth as its first Intergalactic Combat Federation champion. Federation analysts remained behind, continuing their assessment of humanity's unexpected capabilities. But the most profound change was philosophical. For thousands of years, the galactic community had classified species based primarily on physical attributes and technology levels. Now, they faced the uncomfortable realization that a different kind of evolutionary pathway existed. One focused not on developing superior natural weapons, but on developing superior methods for understanding and countering those weapons. The human had needed just 12 seconds to defeat his first opponent. The Federation would need considerably longer to fully comprehend the implications of how he had done it. In classified reports transmitted across the galaxy, a new term entered: the xenological lexicon, human pattern adaptation. It described species that evolved not to overcome their environments directly, but to develop systems for analyzing and exploiting the rules governing those environments. And in military assessment databases throughout the galaxy, humanity's classification was quietly updated from minimal threat to approach with caution. After all, any species that could systematically dismantle superior opponents through preparation and analysis alone might be capable of far more than anyone had anticipated.